Welcome back, episode 66 of the Ground Up podcast. Inflation at 3.6% in June, exceeding expectations, higher food prices, transport costs.
We went past two of our local garden pubs. It was completely empty. It's like, it's actually open and you can see all the lights on. It's such a shame. I mean, pubs were the fabric of society, right? I would gear my whole week up around being down the pub.
So we're in Oxfordshire and that's £8 a pint now. You know, it makes you cough when you buy everyone a drink.
What would make you go, I'm fucking leaving?
Sell your granny and buy Bitcoin.
There's only two winners in this game, banks and the taxman.
And Bitcoin owners.
Guess what the stamp duty would be on that if you bought that as your primary residence? 9 million quid.
I'm just about to write a cheque for 60,000.
60 million?
I'm buying an island.
I really do hope we're still doing this podcast the years where we're having strokes.
The kids can watch them back and they'll be like, how did you get rich? I'll just send them the link to the Ground Up podcast. Watch episodes 1 to 1,000 and you'll find out.
Ground up sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down. Let's get those deals. Deals making money, baby.
Welcome back, episode 66 of the Ground Up podcast. And today we've got a full house. All four of us are here. And anyone who doesn't know who we are, we're four property developers in the UK. And each week we get around the mic and talk about property, business, the economy, and all kinds of hopefully useful things for you viewers if you're interested in this space, property and business. So the four of us, we've got Stuart Wyeth, we've got Dorian Payne, Jack Jiggins, Ryan Beaumont. It's like fucking Power Rangers, isn't it?
Well, what's your sign?
Or maybe like a butterfly or something. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Unique. Today we're going to be going through a few macro things that we want to touch on today, just because inflation print has gone up, economy has shrunk, a few other bits and bobs as well, but mostly we're going to be talking shit like we usually do. So hopefully you enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe and share this episode with anyone who you think may find it useful. But yeah, other than that, we'll jump in. Actually, do you know what? At the start of this, I'm just going to plug the Ground Up Network as well before we dive straight in. Ground Up Network, guys, for anyone who doesn't know, because we don't talk about it enough on this podcast, a place we've created separately where you can join for £100 a month, 7-day free trial, so it doesn't cost you anything to give it a go. And each week we get around the mic and talk with the members like this in a sort of Zoom call setting, hive mind ideas, troubleshoot any problems people are having, appraise sites with people, just try and offer as much free value as we can, because it's basically £100 a month, so it's not really costing you much for the money that you could save in mistakes or make in better strategy decisions and things like that. So it's well worth joining. 7-day free trial, and I think you could check the link in the description. Just a little plug there. Big love, Ground Up Network. Stuart, how's your week, mate? Bitcoin's up.
Bitcoin's up, baby. There's some massive news that dropped last night on the old crypto bills. So the House in the US have basically passed 3 bills, which I think after only like 2 days ago they refused it, but Donald's got involved and said, look, we need to pass this. So there's 3 acts, which is just amazing because it's going to change the whole way that companies can transact with each other. Rather than using the SWIFT network and using banks traditionally, they can start using the digital currency rather than using CBDCs, which they've obviously one of the acts is to basically stop that ever happening in the future. So governments can't control the currency as much as they do with the dollar. But yeah, no, it's so exciting because it means that we can now use, we can transact with stable coins, which is great because to have stable coins and to transact, you need to have a digital wallet. So even though everyone's still going to be transacting in fiat, it just means that the American dollar can be pumped all around the world now. And rather than trying to fill up the bonds, they can start filling up these stable coins. It has to be pegged 1-to-1. So $1 equals $1 stable coin. And it means that there's less fees. It's almost free to transact between everyone. So banks aren't going to like it, but it's been passed now. But it also means everyone's got to have a digital wallet. And everyone starts to set up digital wallets, which is the hardest bit of owning Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, that people then naturally start understanding what Bitcoin is. And it will just have this natural progression, which means Bitcoin goes through the roof. We get more liberal freedom, and yeah, it's super exciting. So yeah, that's been literally last night's news. I couldn't believe it, to be honest, and then that's why Bitcoin's pumping, baby. What we at? That's line wise a different one, but we're at about $120,000 now. I think when we started this podcast, it was around sort of $30,000, I think, at the time. So it's quadrupled in a year and a bit, and it's about to go flying. So yeah, well done to anyone who did go away and do a bit of research on Bitcoin and bought themselves a few £100, because I think this is just the start of it now. I think it's going to get to $300,000-$400,000 quite quickly, maybe over the next 6 months.
Got a bit of interesting interesting feedback on that because one of our investors is big into Bitcoin, and I asked him about it, and I was like, "What do you think is going to happen?" And long story short, I can't remember all the finer details, but he was saying that it's certainly going to pump. It's probably going to pump to 250, but the cycle still needs to come back down, and he reckons it's going to go up, and then over about 2 years, it will come back down to around the 80 mark, and then it will. When the next halving happens, then it will pump again, and the new average would be like 250. That's what he thinks will happen based on the trading cycles and how it typically behaves. But I did say to him, yeah, but with America having that kind of conviction and the state of the economy globally, people waking up to the eroding effects of inflation, I just think it's different this time. But that's always the case, and it's always different this time.
It's always different. It's always going to change the world until it crashes. But it's so funny because the news, like yesterday or 3 days ago, on the hype of this, it went to $123,000, and then the following day, when it crashed to $116,000. So instantly, as soon as the sentiment changes, it's Bitcoin's crashing. I was like, a month ago, it was like 95,000. It's not crashed at all. It's just stabilizing and sort of finding a floor. But the actual graph is so strong because every time it pumps up sort of 10%, it sits and just holds the new floor. So then people will transact, new buyers buy, sellers sell, it creates a new floor, and then it pumps again. So the actual structure of Bitcoin over the last couple of years has been super bullish. So I think the hype's going to just absolutely rocket up to 2, 3, 400. I mean, Samson Mao saying it's going to go to $1 million this cycle, and then it will crash 80% to 200 grand. And people on the way on the hype will buy it all the way up, and then they'll crash and have to sit in it for 4 years like everyone else. But during that time, you understand what you bought, and that's what brings new people into the market. And then people who are weekends and just do it for money will just sell at a loss and get out of it and not want to spend any time learning about it. And the people who do want to understand what this thing is they've just bought will spend 4 years learning about it. And it does take literally 3 or 4 years. It's almost like a university education. I feel like when I read the Bitcoin Standard and these things, it's a great book. It's 2017 that was written, so it's well good going backwards. And when you read that and go through, you feel like you're getting a degree in economics. You're breaking everything down into small bite-sized chunks.
I'm reading it again at the moment, just going like back through it 'cause it's such a nice. It gives you a really nice perspective on because sometimes, mate, in this country, I'm just like it's fucking depressing, like just the state of the economy. So like, I just need a bit of Bitcoin in my life to go like, yeah, it's all good as long as you own Bitcoin, you'll be all right.
We were talking to one of our investors about doing another deal, and it's so stressful, fucking property. They were like, "Man, I just don't know why I started to just buy Bitcoin." And it's the only thing in my life that I can buy, hold, and sleep like a baby every night, knowing I've got something that's outside this system we're being manipulated in. I was like, "You're absolutely right, mate, literally." But it is a bit of a drug once you get a little bit of it and you start understanding how powerful this thing is. You just want more and more. So, but yeah, no, all markets are up, and
Speaking of more and more, D, how's your Bitcoin doing now, mate? The £500 you bought.
Excellent, mate. I invested in it and I had to liquidate it so I can sign an option agreement.
How's business though? How's business, D?
Well, the good news is I signed an option agreement on a site that instead of quadrupling my money, I will 10x my money. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's I think, and I love this because it's I always have I debate with myself because it's as you say, Bitcoin could double, triple, quadruple, but I'm looking at my active return on my capital employed on the deals I'm doing, and it's in theory, in like everything's theory, even Bitcoin's thing. I'm over 10 times in my return on my own cash, if that makes sense. So for me, it's because it's different, I suppose, for myself and obviously Jack, maybe, and even you got yourselves, really, guys, when a deal comes around and when you can calculate on your own cash, push comes to shove. Because we're very active developers and investors doing real deals on an active basis and stuff, there is obviously an argument that what we're doing can make you more money than. But you guys have got a blend. The problem with me is I'm all in. So, and that's just because I have so much opportunity at my doorstep. I don't have enough capital to capitalize on my opportunities. We've captured quite a size of the market share. We're quite unique in what we do, especially in the area we operate in. There's hardly any of us in terms of businesses exactly like us. We're classed as a strategic partner now in Wales. I'm dealing with Welsh government right up to seriously high levels. So I suppose it's a bit different that way. But yeah, the good news, I've got deals coming out my ears a minute, and just don't have enough money to do them because they take years. And even though the business is capitalized with millions and millions of pounds, it's still not enough. I think I always, and the problem is because I'm constantly pushing to do more deals. I'm trying to learn from all my mistakes, but I'm exposing the business. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, like, I want to do that deal. I want to do that deal. And I'm doing, and anyway, so the good news is we've exchanged. I think I've got like an exchange coming up every 2 weeks for the next like 4 months. There's just so much deals we've been working on, and we're getting through, and they're all forward sold, and we've got commitments from them all. I'm still speaking with larger funders, so I'm still in an advanced stage with a investment firm for a £6 million investment, and then other than that, the business is I'm doing a big change in the business, which is good, but obviously it's stressful, and I've just been motivating myself with I suppose personally, I'm doing two things. One, I'm reading more. Like I listened a lot, and I used to read a lot, but now I'm actually gone back and I'm reading more in book format. I'm finding I'm taking it in more. So that's good. And the other thing is I'm reading business poems more in the morning to try to motivate myself. So I was reading one this morning. So I'll read one to you guys now.
Yeah, go on.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, that's a common thing, isn't it? And all you want to do is smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but do not quit. Life is queer, like Ryan, with its twists and turns. Sorry, that was bad. As every one of us sometimes learns, and many a fellow turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man or woman. The poem doesn't say that, I just added that in exclusively.
Oh, did you?
Often the struggler has given up, nearly finished by the way. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup, and he learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. One last bit. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And when you never can tell how close you are, it may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seems worst, you must not quit. You all right, guys? Here's your dose of inspiration for the morning.
Fan. Do you
Wow,
get on
very nice.
ChatGPT?
But
Like, do you wake up, go on ChatGPT, and be like, "Give me motivational poems"? 'Cause that's what that sounds like.
No, believe it or not, a few years ago, I've always been into like these. I actually memorized like fucking 6 of them, I think, and I used to just repeat them in the morning. Sad as that sounds, but I didn't. I just read that one. I didn't remember. I stopped doing it a little while ago.
who's the
So I
who
guess
was the author for that one? Who's
Dorian Payne.
Don't
Yeah,
even
no.
ChatGPT.
Edgar
put it up on my
Guest.
wall when I move?
Edgar Guest. That was Edgar Guest.
Can't guess.
Interestingly, I was there's a commercial and residential agent next door to me, and they're quite a young company, both in years that they've been operating and also the workforce in there. And I was sort of like, "How's business?" And they were like, "The market's shit. Commercial market's not doing anything. We just had a load of sales fall through in the resi." And similar to what you say, Dorian, like we made a joke about he's quite a funny bloke. He sort of said, "I'm thinking about selling wristies underneath the Henley Bridge to bring in some cash flow," and I sort of, you know, I can kind of see that they're in a world of pain because they just had 3 big sales on new plots go awry. And I just thought to myself, we do that. We, in times where it's really shit, we laugh about it, we move on, we take the blow, and we just crack on.
Find Jack under the bridge at Henley.
Yeah.
Keep away from your kids. Jack, how's your week?
Yeah, all good, all good. Not too much. We got interns working for us, so I've been trying to keep work continuity for them. So 4 interns from Reading Uni. Still looking for quite a big equity ticket slice. Getting bids out on sites, getting stuff delivered, getting flats sold. Not too much to report really. Haven't been reading any poems, or putting more money in Bitcoin. So I feel a bit of a third part on this.
If it makes you feel better, man, I've not bought Bitcoin for a little bit now. Always makes me anxious if I go like a month. Well, actually, no, to be fair, my personal account buys it every week, but that's like small amounts, but I want to move more company funds in there. But every time I'm like, oh, we could. And then I'm like, but we could also put it in this. And it's that thing you're saying, that Dee was saying about how much can you really make on your cash. For me, I can make more money investing it into the business than I could anywhere else, really. Like the return on cash, even projects, like some projects are good, but like up here, it's more about the uplift's not there in the same way. So you might park a little bit, but you get the yield and the long term. Like to make 10x cash on cash in a deal up, I don't see that ever happening really.
We have the same, like Ben and I have the same, definitely the same distraction from Bitcoin into like business. And I actually pulled all of my money out of Bitcoin years ago to go into the business because the business needed it. And interestingly, I was mentoring someone this week, and we all know him, and I'll tell you who it is after. But he was like, I just like rentals because they sit, you hold them in your portfolio. And I think everyone likes a rental portfolio because you're growing a portfolio. There's an element of ego in there. But the numbers aren't great on his rental portfolio. And I was like, if you know the numbers and still wish to keep them, that's fine. But if you don't know the numbers and are making a decision, that's different. So just to our listeners out there, like what Dorian's getting at is he knows his internal IRR. He knows he wants to make a conscious decision to not put it in Bitcoin, put it into his business. But if he knows the numbers, that's his decision, and he can make that decision, even if the numbers aren't as good. So you put your money where you want, obviously. And some of us are built differently than others.
I think it's good to have a balance. Like I would, there's a bit of me that goes, oh, there's times where I wish I put it all in Bitcoin. But then there's another bit of me that goes, yeah, but I love that we've got this business and this team of people and we've got a purpose and a thing we're aiming for. And each day we wake up and we've got like work and productivity to do. And I think you need that. I think you really want that. But it's good to have, it's just nice to know you've got Bitcoin in the background. If shit hits the fan, it's like, well, cool, I got that.
I totally agree with all you boys. I'm not saying put everything in, sell your granny and buy Bitcoin. I'm saying that for every £100 you're spending today on wasted goods, that is effectively 13 grand in the future. And it might be 10, 13, 15 years away, but I'm just saying put £100 away as and when you can, on anything you can afford. I'm just saying get off zero, because why would you not? When this thing has proven itself over 16 years, it's going one
I think
way.
part of it that is the barrier for entry for me is I can't be bothered to do all of the work that you've done on it. And so when a friend of mine, well, he's actually been on the pod, Johnny, who runs the Amazon FBA business. He was into Bitcoin trading, and I just chucked him up, like, I can't remember at the time how much it was, probably 10, 15 grand. I was like, can you just do that for me? Just because I can't be bothered to do what you're doing. And I was like, I don't even want you to trade it. Just put it in what you think's good and leave it there. Because it's kind of what, like, it's a bit like if one of my friends which this is also a true story, is a really successful trader in the city. He gives me money to do the property stuff, and I give him, and I think it's just like leaning into your skills. So I think there's a business product out there, Stu, maybe something for you, where you just go, look, I won't charge anything. Let's just build a community. I'll tell you what I'm doing. You follow suit. So if I put, 10 eggs in that basket, you put 1 egg in that basket, and you follow on the journey, because I just can't be bothered with it. I'd actually rather send you the money to your personal account. You put it in and let me know how we're getting on, because I just want to crack on with what I'm doing.
No, I get it. And there's definitely a market there. I mean,
Bitcoin funds, Stu. Open it up, sunshine.
it's coming, mate. It's coming.
All right, let's have a look at the market, guys. Let's have a look at what's going on. I want to touch on this one first before we get into the nitty gritty of finances. I just think it's just more and more sad, that we're seeing pubs just like shut down fucking everywhere, and the loss of that community asset. So let's just have a quick look at this, because the rate of pub closures is increasing. So declining British pubs face economic and cultural challenges. The closure of British pubs due to rising costs, changing consumer habits, not only impacts local communities, but also reflects broader anxieties about social change and national identity. The British Beer and Pub Association predicts that 1 pub closure per day in the UK 2025, with over a quarter of pubs closing since 2000. Rising costs of ingredients, business rates, rents, utilities, wages have made pubs economically challenging. Cultural shifts towards home working, changing drinking habits, and competition from supermarkets and delivery platforms are contributing to pub closures. There's definitely a wide vector of things that are making this happen. But as a Brit, you grow up knowing that the pub is a local parliament. It's where working people go to talk about their community, to talk about work, to talk about the economy, to talk about politics, to just talk and just chat. And it's kind of like, are we losing that and replacing it for social media forums and other shit? Like, I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, particularly in your neck of the woods, Stuart and Jack, where I think pubs are still fine because they're a wealthy economy and there's probably robust.
I saw the docket come through late last night. We get minute to think about what we're going to say. But I said to Charlotte, it was last Sunday. We were walking back from, we were driving back from Amity swimming, and this was on a Sunday, beautiful sunshine, midday, and the garden pubs. We went past 2 of our local garden pubs 10 years ago. We would go there. We've been in this house 10 years now, and even up till COVID, every day it would be busy, kids in the garden, playing football, playing on the swings and slides. No one. It was completely empty. It's like, it's actually open, and you could see all the lights on. It was completely empty. It's such a shame. I mean, pubs were, you know, they were the fabric of society, right? I would gear my whole week up around being down the pub. And since COVID, obviously, I stopped drinking, and I think that's been a bit of a swing on most people that have just changed their habits. And yeah, it's a shame because I used to have some of the best times down the pub, but I don't go down there myself, and I think that's just the swing that it's moved. And they can't keep going forever, can they? If no one's going down there, or they're like 90%. I mean, some of the local boozers, you still get the old fucking alcoholics down there 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning with a pint and a paper and ready to get on with it. But they're cheaper pubs. They're not the higher end pubs that you're talking about.
Think about though, when you think about what our community, family, what our cultural sort of identity was for all those years, churches, pubs, those were community infrastructure places where people would come together locally. We've obviously loads of people don't go to church now. It's like, I don't know anyone really that goes to church unless they're trying to get into a local religious school or something. And not many people go to the pub. So what happens? What's the replacement?
They didn't have supermarkets back then, did they? Where you can buy alcohol much cheaper than in a pub. But I just think times are just changing. There's still a demographic for it, but it's much small. The reason why so many pubs are closing is because, as you said, in the olden days, that was the staple for churches and pubs, etc. So in one town or one city or one village, whatever it is, you had a quantity of pubs, and when we submit plans, so we've demolished quite a few pubs, and we're in planning now for a couple. But the thing is, the check that we always do, that's part of planning policy, there is a planning policy, as you said, it's a community asset, is that they look at how many are in the radius, and there's some form of calculation that some whiz kid mathematicians do, basically calculate the demand requirements effectively of you don't need 30 pubs anymore in one village. You need 2. That's the reality of it. They're still going to be there, but in a much smaller quantum.
And who can really afford £5 or £4 for a soda water and lime? That's what you're going out for. Yeah. And this is what we're doing right now is the new coffee morning of the 21st century. We've all jumped out of bed, had a shower, everyone's having a sip of their coffee, and we're having a bit of a catch up. And that is what the future is. We've not had to go anywhere, drive anywhere, spend any money.
This is like a virtual pub.
Electricity.
Yeah?
It's a virtual coffee morning. There's thousands of podcasts now, isn't there?
I think for the sort of younger years coming through, I think the new version of a pub is like Snapchat. Like, I was walking back into the office the other day and I saw a girl doing some fucking weird dance to send it to her friends on Snapchat, and I was like, that's the equivalent of, Greg, do you want another pint, or have you got a nip home? And I was like, that is the world. That is the world we're in, and it's Dorian,
Jack
you said
joined in. You can tell he joined in.
You say that back then we didn't have supermarkets where you could buy cheaper alcohol, but it was actually quite comparable to drink in a pub to drink at home. Now it's not comparable. There's a huge discrepancy between going to the buying in the supermarket and buying in a pub. I mean, I'm from a big family of drinkers. My dad's still like an absolute champion at putting them down. So much so that when he goes to his local Indian, the guy that knows him just puts 2 pints down immediately. They don't have to communicate. They know that one isn't enough because he's thirsty. And I love a pub. I love going down a pub. So I'm trying to support that community. And actually, when I do go to a pub, I try to go to independents to support local business rather than I can't remember the last time I was in the Weatherspoons in Henley, but I'd always go to the local independent boozers. But it is expensive, is the problem. There's one pub on the river in Henley. So we're in Oxfordshire, and that's £8 a pint now. And so I took my team down there the other day, and that was, it makes you cough when you buy everyone a drink. And I think unfortunately it is sad, but I do think it's just cultural change, and I think that there's some pubs that have embraced it quite well. Quite popular places have to have some form of entertainment. When you look at Putt Shack or you look at Sixes Cricket, there's an activity around the drinking culture, which is kind of where world's gone. People want to go there, all-star lanes, do a bit of bowling, have a few drinks, see each other, and then, you know, go on their merry way wherever they need to go. But the culture has massively changed. Like, my dad used to go to the pub every day when I was a kid, and that was his business. You know, he'd meet all the builders in there, then he would sell his plant to those builders. But now we've got the seamless, you know, he says to me, why the fuck do you do all this fucking podcasts and this, that, and the other? And I was like, it's the equivalent of being in the pub, Dad. Like, but I can be in every pub in the UK, but it's I don't have to go to the pub to meet a local builder who's then going to use plant hire. So yeah, it is sad, but I think that the ratio of pubs to people enjoying them is just too much. So they need closures.
I think it'd be nice to see some kind of help, whether it's like all independent pubs get like rate exemption for a while or something. Just give them a chance to survive, because there are some pubs where they are still really good community assets, or they're good for people. They are supporting the local community.
There's plans for that in the mini budget.
There will be. There's still going to be a small handful of pubs in every place. Really, they're not gonna be extinct. It's just they're gonna morph towards probably more like a, you know, like a restaurant eatery, in addition to being a pub, in addition to providing entertainment stuff. But there's going to be a less of them in each location. Like I said, because obviously we do it so much in planning. Sometimes we're going into planning on one, and one's closing down. And you look at the map, and within a walking radius, there's 15 pubs. So like, you just do not need that anymore.
Yeah. I definitely think too many pubs is such a thing.
There's been mutters of, in the autumn budget, support for rates on retail, hospitality, and what other, I can't remember what it is. I mean, the rate system is fucked in in the UK. If your rent is up to, so I don't know what it's like in Wales, but if your rent is up to £12,000 per year, you don't pay rates. And then if it's above that, you do pay rates at like 40 to 50p in the pound.
And it's not even the rent; it's the rateable value. So you could be paying less than £12,000 rent, but the rateable value is actually valued more than that, and then you're paying rates.
Which I think it should be a sliding scale, and I also think 40 to 50p in the pound. If you look at, I was chatting to my barber about this actually the other day, because he's quite entrepreneurial, and we were talking about rates and how it's changing, and he's under the threshold for small business rates relief. And I was saying that if you look at your house, which you pay council tax, which business rates is the equivalent, it's a community contribution for various things that you need, like waste removal, traffic, highways, curb appeal, whatever it may be. If you're paying, so let's assume the house that I'm living in, and my mortgage might be £2,000 a month, or my rent might be £2,500 per month. My council tax is about 10% of that. A commercial business, your rates is 40 to 50% of your rent, which is ridiculous. It's just a tax fuck up, really. But the biggest issue is it's really good for some people and then really shit for everyone else. And it's yeah, granted, it's supporting small businesses, but I think it should be, you know, I think if you're paying 40 grand in rent, it should incrementally be going up across the whole board, so that everyone that's bigger is contributing more. Yeah, more like the tax.
Well, speaking of taxes, yesterday we're looking at just a standard 3-bed terrace worth 185 grand. Usually we're buying stuff sub 150, so I've not had to change our sheet, but I had to change our sheet on the stamp duty to just reflect the difference upwards. And I was like 11.5 grand or something it was in stamp duty. And I was like, man, you guys in the south must get absolutely whacked with them values on stamps. And I'm just like, fucking hell, 11 grand on a 185 grand purchase, just going to stamp.
We actually went to the pub as a team on Wednesday, and there's a house in Henley-on-Thames, which is George Harrison, the old Beatles house. So his missus lives there, who still, I actually saw her driving out the other day. And we were talking about it because one of the interns was like, who lives there? It's a pretty mega house. And it's next door to me, so we sort of share a garden. I'm joking. We are quite close though. And I was like, I reckon that house is probably worth 80 million quid. And as a little bit of fun, because teaching interns all about this, I said, guess what the stamp duty would be on that if you bought that as your primary residence? Have a little guess, you lot. I mean, it's 80 million purchase.
10%, isn't it? Above.
It's probably about 10 mil.
You could be about 10 mil. Yeah, 10 mil.
9 million quid. So if you've worked really hard or had a bit of success and you've got 80 million quid, you'd lose 9 just moving in there. You might fancy moving out a year or two after, and you know, because of schools and things like this.
You just blow me out of the water. But I was about to say, I'm just about to write a check for 60,000 for stamp duty. Still Lily.
60 million?
I'm buying an island. Buying the Isle of Man. No, yeah, 60 grand. I can't. It's just like fucking so painful for what. I swore I'd never move it again. This is our family house forever because it's just so expensive.
I know we spoke about it on the pod before, but stamp duty is just it just prevents the economy. Well, it prevents the property market from being more transactional and liquid, and allowing people to move as and when they will and want to, rather than when they absolutely have to. It just congests things. It's such a stupid tax, so stupid. There you go. Property people complaining about stamp duty.
There's money for old rope, isn't it? It's easy for the government.
People go, oh, let's move house because we need another bedroom for Tarquin. And then I go, fucking hell, 60 grand in stamp duty. Let's stay here and do a loft conversion. Then Stu goes, here we go.
Around in a minute.
Here we are. All right,
Big
going
tape
up.
measure out.
Aussie Joyce, get the tin out on it. Lovely.
Aussie Joyce.
2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
Get up there, Tom. Here's you little fucker.
23 years of doing that, mate. It's been good to me, the loft game.
Fucking good, mate. All right, let's look at inflation. Inflation, UK inflation hits 3.6%, highest since January 24. Rising prices for food, clothing, air and rail fares, and slow fuel price drops have pushed inflation to 3.6%, impacting consumer purchasing power and potentially influencing the Bank of England's upcoming interest rate decision. A couple points. So inflation at 3.6% in June, exceeding expectations. Higher food prices, transport costs. Bank of England expected to cut borrowing costs next month despite rising inflation rates. I mean, I'd argue at this point that just them keeping the rates high is stimulating more inflation because the cost baked into business and services. And there's just a little graph showing inflation print over the last 5 years. If we remember that spike in that 22-23 part, that I'm sure all of us remember being probably the toughest time in business and property for probably 2008. That there was an absolute monster to deal with. And Dorian, I know you got the war stories for it.
Yeah, more than war stories. Yeah, I think for me, by far, I think in hindsight now, especially like on some of the deals we've been doing recently, and the financial performance, and obviously, really, it's from 2021 through to mid 23, really, and then you get a fallout after that because you're in contracts for up to 2 years. So yeah, honestly, I think we've got 2 sites left now that I class as our legacy sites, and then when they're finished over the coming months, I can't wait to just box out the bed and be like, fuck, I felt I went through World War there, but yeah, mad.
I bet there's a few perms flying about in that era.
As you say though, Jack, it's some businesses did extremely well from that, and other businesses, and we were unfortunate in that space of time where a bit of bad luck meant that we signed so many contracts at such a wrong time that it was devastating, really. But like I said, we've come out through it and much stronger for it. To be honest, I'm glad it happened so young into the business, because if that happened now, for example, and I had like great run before that, and then it happened on the scale we're at now, my God, I think single-handedly it could kill you.
Yeah, you have to build in a bear market. Then, at the end of the day, no one saw it coming. It's been horrific.
Sounds though, the survivors have a bit of peace after, because it did.
Lady luck comes round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, survive.
The one of the biggest
Got to stay in
landlords
bed
around
for
here-
already.
Finish
One
stroking your pussy.
yeah, little morning pussy stroke. One of the biggest landlords around here, yeah, like notorious. I know him really well. He's a good mate, and he called me yesterday about a load of different bits. And he put this publicly out on Facebook as well, so everyone knew. And mate, he's 30 years building a portfolio worth a pretty penny. Overstretched himself during that period we just saw there. Couldn't get off these sites. Investors obviously couldn't be appeased. They're all calling it in, and he had cross-collateralized stuff against his existing portfolio built up. So he's basically going to have to clean slate. And he's like, do you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to leave with a few squid I'll have left and just go sail a boat around the Far East and head off to the Philippines and that. And I'm like,
when you go through a hard time, it does make you do have those thoughts. You're like, yeah, you set off with such great intentions, but then when you go through something like that for a prolonged period of time as well, you literally, it can make you be like, fuck, I'm just going to move to Bali and just eat coconuts and chill, man.
Mate, he sounded defeated. Like he was like, "I'm fucking done, mate. I've been trying to keep it afloat for the last 2 years. Just can't get any movement. I'm just stuck." And I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm selling off," because he wants to sell stuff to us and just leave the country.
A good phrase my dad actually uses with it, because him being in business, is he said business is always like having a liger, or a liger, fuck's sake, tiger or a lion by the tail. As soon as you let it go, you're eaten. But you got to hold on, and you don't know why when you had hold of it when it was a little pup, it was all right, but now it's grown into this beast, and you can't let it go. You got to, and because if you let it go, it's game over. And Dorian, it's interesting that Ryan said he stretched himself at that point. I feel like we're constantly stretching ourselves day in, day out. I feel like, constantly going.
I just said it then. I'm still stretching, even though I've gone through all that.
I was gonna say just quickly, I think there's a difference in stretching though. There's some that stretch optimistically or naively, even though they may have experience. Then there's stretching and working your ass off to make sure that you're stretching.
Shall I tell you what it is? I wish this was more a smooth piece of paper. No,
Hey,
it wasn't. Look,
I feel a graph coming on.
it is.
Straight line, sir.
Straight line. Right. I feel like, and when you run a business and when you make decisions, right? This is visual, right? We're traveling on this, right, making decisions, yeah? And this line is quite thin. And on the one side of the line, yeah? I've done it the wrong way. Oh, I've messed this up. Anyway, I'll just one side, right? If it works out, you're a genius, right? If that decision doesn't work out, it could be for us. It doesn't even matter if it's outside of your thing. You're an absolute failure. This looks like a T, so tart, whatever. But I think the moral of the story is I've made decisions where, if it goes well, I'm literally like a genius. I'm like fucking people walking around with a halo behind me. And then on the same time, I've made a decision and it's gone bad. And I've been speaking to, stakeholders and stuff, and they speak to you and look at you like you're some fucking imbecile. You're just like, or call you stuff, you're like reckless and things. You're like, it's not, I don't know. You can't be right all the time. And sorry, one last thing. I think I was watching a motivational speech by Roger Federer, a tennis player, who's obviously a billionaire now. I don't know if you've seen in the news. I think he's the first tennis billionaire. But obviously not through tennis. He took his proceeds and invested in businesses. As one of the businesses went, I think it was a shoe brand. And I think it's IPO'd or it's done something, and it's anyway, he's a billionaire. So I was listening to a motivational speech by him. And he said, out of all the, obviously with his record stuff, out of all the tournaments he played, out of all the games he's played, etc., he won 80% of his matches, I think, or something like that. But out of those matches, during that time anyway. And out of his matches, though, he won 54% of his points. So he only won, because obviously as tennis, you win the point and you move on to the next one. 54%. And you hear that a lot in business. Like, you only got to be right more than half the time. It's like a GP. To be a GP, your test is 50% pass now. But the problem is, like what Jeff Bezos says, Amazon, is you can also make a decision because you're going through a door where you can't come back through that door. And then those chances, you have to be right 100% of the time. Because if you go through it,
I feel in business, it's where you've got that line, Dorian, is one decision that can put you into failure, but you have to have 10 right decisions to prop up the one wrong decision or more. So you can have all these successes and, you become immune to it. Something good happens, planning application approved, success over here, got a site under offer, whatever it may be. And I'm just like, cool, just try. So business is trying to avoid failures.
In property and property development, the higher up the risk curve you go, those decisions you're having to make, the risk of failure is like 80% to the 20% you get right. So you've got to be sharper, and the bigger jobs you do, the more risks you can't see. So it's a very difficult game, property development, and that's why a lot of people stay at the buy to let and the single rents, because they're low risk. and you're just playing the capital appreciation. But if you actually want to do serious property development, it's just so difficult. I mean, trying to get these big jobs that you can make a shitload of money on come with going bust. That's the other end of the scale. So, how much risk do you want to take?
I feel like there's a bit of it now where it's like to do the bigger sites, you've also got to kind of do it for the love of doing it as well. Like, because making the money is just so like not close to being a sure thing anymore, where you're like, at least if I enjoy the process and make sure it at least washes its face and counter for all the worst cases, deliver the scheme, get out of it, made some stock, cool, had some fun. But I just see it, the trading businesses is where to make money at the moment in this market. Like, I just think that's how to win.
The last 4 years, you just see about that graph, stagflation, nothing's going up in terms of inflation, where loads of developers will rely on the market improving. And if the market's declining, which it has done effectively, if you look around the southeast where we are, things have dropped 3, 4, 5%. I mean, I'm selling my house at 100 grand less than what I sold it for 2 years ago, but I'm buying something that should be 250 grand more, in my opinion, but I'm buying it cheaper. So it's a buyer's market, as we said in the last podcast. These things are having a massive knock-on effect. And if you're a developer who's trying to wait on the future, I mean, that's why we just want to buy and hold everything. It's because we know where the market's going. We know they're going to print shitloads of money, and we know these assets are going to go up in time. And now is I think the wrong time to be selling stuff, in my opinion. I think that we need to hold stuff for 5 years, and let it wash its face, cover costs, and see where the future holds. But
And I agree. I think with my businesses, I've structured it as a trading business to get more of a, rather than just be a property developer where you make the profit in the development and you don't really have a business value. I've structured more of a trading business where we're still development led, but we're also on frameworks. We're also a strategic partner with all that sort of stuff. And like the deal I'm working now with this fund may not go ahead, but even if it doesn't go ahead now, you see these green shoots, and I'm speaking with very experienced investment funds, etc., credible, and we're already talking. And I said it may not. I may not go ahead with it anyway because I can see where the business is going. I'll wait a few years, but at the moment we're talking about a debt and equity deal where the equity, if it goes ahead, would value my business over, I think, 15 million at the moment. And so in theory, like my personal, obviously I've got properties and all that sort of stuff, but technically speaking, if that happens overnight, this is like kind of said, like Roger Federer, the businesses can do that. You can go from nil to millions instantly just on finally getting that deal done.
I was going to say, it's like taking a commercial tenant on with an empty vacant building in the commercial world. The building's worth bricks and mortar. You stick an A-rated tenant in there on a 15-year no fix, and you just added so much value overnight from just making a decision.
Yeah.
It's the
Definitely.
same with business.
Subject to what you thought.
I agree with Ryan. Yeah. I just love what I do, to be honest with you. So because of that, I don't really think about all that stuff. It's part of the business, bigger plan. But ultimately, every day, I just want to be doing stuff that I like to do, like chatting with you guys.
Interestingly, I would probably say I'm falling out of love with what we do. I think we're good at it, so we can continue doing it.
Which bit though? You do lots of stuff. I do one key thing.
The development world, buying a development, getting that over the line, getting it delivered, and getting some form of exit. I'm falling out of love with that bit. The little flips that we do in some streets, I love, because you're just in out, nice and quick, lots of visual change. Whereas I feel the development space is just too convoluted, complicated. There's no pragmatism behind it. It's getting over-regulated. I understand the regulation in fire, but I don't get ecology. And it's costly. We've got a site that probably won't go ahead now, and we're probably 80 grand in fees just to fucking have a look at it. So yeah, it's not as, we just want to be building houses, right? And I feel like we're in a period where it does need a bit of a readjust and a break, where the national government say we're not getting the houses we need because it's too overregulated. Let's ease all of these areas like ecology, bats, badgers, bird boxes, newts, all that nonsense. Why don't we move all of the bats, badgers, and newts to areas that cannot be developed?
Scotland.
It's beyond me. No, well, like anywhere in the Greenbelt area. Put them in there, and then we'll build out here. No one goes, oh no, look, get the kids. There's a newt. Look, there's a newt. Wow, wildlife. Wow, badger. I bet I can guarantee no one's ever seen a badger before unless it's been hit by a car. Move them to Greenbelt. They won't get run over there. bats, you can't see them either.
It's fucking mental. We had enough of the record sort of chat about it the other day, didn't we, Jack, about these bigger sites. When you look at the wins on smaller sites, and the benefit is we do smaller sites as well. So we know the both worlds and we could always pivot if we need to. And I think that's an important lesson for anyone out there as well. If you're centered on big sites at the moment and you've not got another means of income or another strategy, you can quickly scale up. I do think you're far too weighted because the economy's not looking good. Like inflation's just come back up, taxes are going crazy. Is there going to be buyers out there in a year's time when you're in delivery? Like, I think this is the time to kind of reassess and go, okay, do we need to be cautious of the coming market? Like I wish we were in 21 before 22, 23 happened. I wouldn't have taken on the big site. I would have not done it if I knew that was coming. And I think once now we've been through those scars, we may be looking at developments going, it could happen again. And I just cannot be fucked for 3-4 years of washing face and washing my ass to just make nothing. And it's kind of demoralizing. I think it is big. You look at big sites and you go, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? But I've got 3 months of fucking pre-con and surveys to discharge.
Fund don't pay the bills.
Oh yeah.
Well, you've got to do it for a profit, as there's just no point. And like Jack said, exactly the same. You're trying to take all that risk, pay all those fees, take the 80 out of 100 chances of going bust, and then try and work in an economy that's against you. And it likely to be 18 months, 2 years from now before green roots come and the market starts improving. But why would you want to trade through that where you can make fast pounds, get in and out, have a lifestyle for the minute? You've got to have a cash flow business. It's just not worth all the risk.
Against you. It's I'm finding bank lenders at the moment being like just absolutely calling the shots, like being counterintuitive to the developer. Like we got a site, we got extra planning for another flat, and they're like, well, you're a month behind on site. And I was like, yes, we just added 300 grand in value at no additional cost. Of course we've delayed it a month. And they're like, no, we want you to crack on with the original schedule. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the collaboration here? Then you've got everything. We've got lawyers that have fucked us over and gone bust, and we can't reclaim losses that we've had against theirs. We've got, it's difficult when you get into when it's a scared environment. Everyone's punching each other and no one gets out.
Yeah. And when you compare that to the HMOs, where you can literally build 3, 4, 5 a year, they're in and out. You're done. You get some cash flow. The market, there's a strong market rent for them. Everyone's got, most people have got £600 to £1,000 to spend on a room, and they batten down the hatches, and you make a few quid along the way.
Yeah, I think the only two places that HMOs work though is Darlington and Farnham. They're the only two areas.
The
that I'd
only
probably go.
areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Never go to Oxfordshire.
Let's have a look at the rest of the docket to give us some more things for our audience to look at. So UK economy shrinks as well. It's just fucking mad, isn't it? The unexpected. So this is in May. So shrinks in May. So unexpected 0.1% contraction in the UK economy in May adds pressure to the government's economic growth goals. Obviously, Rachel Reeves is not happy. And growth in the first quarter was boosted by exports and stamp duty tax breaks, but the second quarter is forecasted to be around 0.102. So yeah, the first quarter of this year was 0.7% growth, which Labour and Reeves were obviously bragging about being the largest in the G7. But hang on, when you've got an announced stamp duty hike that's coming, you're going to have a lot of trade volume coming through people selling properties, and it was pre-Trump's tariffs, so you had a lot of exporters going, shit, let's shift stock before the tariffs come in, at which point they're an unknown quantity. So there's an artificial increase in Q1, and Q2 is going to look much more realistic, and let's see what Q3 looks like. But a contracting economy, raising taxes, higher inflation rates, I think they're going to have to bring down BOE. They're going to have to do something drastic. It's the same in America. America's inflation print's just gone up as well.
0.7 since January in the US. Inflation is.
The thing is, that Genius bill I banged on about the second we jumped on it, is that bill will allow them to print more money and hide it in stable coins. That means that countries in Kenya and India they all want the dollar. So it means their actual currencies become weaker. And the same with the Bank of England, and the same with the ECB, is that the actual euro will become weaker against the dollar because everyone can trade the dollar a lot more seamlessly with less friction, which means that the Bank of England, the pound goes down in value, our properties become more attractable to other money. Then the forex between the pound and euro and pound and the dollar means that it will bring a bit more stability in terms of the prices, but then the pound becomes weaker, so we get less for our money because we still have to buy stuff from abroad because we build fuck all in this country. So things get more expensive over time with more money. So this stagflation gets worse and worse for for us, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It ain't going to get easy for the next few years. They just print more money, but yeah, things get more expensive. We'll be paying. I can't believe I'm paying £4.50. I went. I was literally 2 weeks ago. I was in Starbucks. I bought myself a black iced Americano, £4.10. I went there the following week. It's £4.45. I went, my fucking god, is it going up 10% week on week? Is that the new price? It's water, ice, and cut the shots of coffee. I'm paying £4.50. What is it? The plastic cup? I just go and get it.
And to the local Sainsbury's just down here. I should probably go to the bigger one because yes, it's going to be slightly more discounted. But every day I'll go in there maybe twice a day because for some reason I go in there to buy lunch and then later on I go in there to buy dinner. And I'm spending about 20 quid a day on like not a lot of food. Like it's fucking mental. It's mental how much food is costing. And I don't know if you guys had seen what happened in America, but the all-time profits and dividend payments out of these big food companies is massive. So, and this comes with the incumbents, like, because there's so many of these supermarket chains now and these guys control the markets, they can do whatever the fuck they want. And of course, they're going to exploit hard times because they have shareholder interests. And I kind of don't blame them for that. I blame the government for over regulating the small food producers and the farm shops who can no longer compete. And now it's more expensive to buy locally than it is to buy something that's traveled 200,000 fucking miles to get to your doorstep. It just doesn't, the whole thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but those big salaries have got to go up asymmetric because the cost in terms for them to get more wealthier, their salaries have got to increase tenfold because the stuff they're buying is fourfold. But the people who I can't go and sell a loft for £250,000 because of everything. I've got, so my fitters want more money. The materials are going up where they are. It's so difficult. So everyone's margins gets tighter. And if you're a business that's not set up the right way, it don't take much for you to go pop, which then puts more pressure on the economy.
Does anyone here know of any SME private house builders who are doing well and they're just developers, private house builders?
No,
I don't know any.
I was chatting to a developer from Henley the other day who does one site a year. He's got his own construction team. He doesn't borrow from banks, and he just buys a site. Well, he gets planning on a site, delivers it, moves on to the next one. Very robust, low risk, and he's just like, we're doing more and more for less and less. And he's been in it for 30 years, and he's
The money
doing
with
well,
the debt.
but
He's
he's getting to the point where he's like, oh, do I really need this ag? It's
Yeah. I just think I don't think the government obviously doesn't understand, but the layman doesn't understand really either. Like that because developers are branded with like Lamborghini flash lives and all this shit because of the probably most of the training course gurus who make it look that way. But it's not. It's a huge amount of risk.
none of those people actually do development. So
Industry with this image when actually most of us are like sleepless nights, working our fucking arse off, huge risks, constant battles with stakeholders, and just to maybe make money, maybe not, sometimes lose a load of money and waste years of your life because these delivery cycles are prolonged. It's like you could have a 2-3-year-old child in the time to deliver one site. And I think people think you just make loads of money, and it's like, nah, you don't. You could, and you absolutely should, but you can't because it's too fucking difficult, and no wonder there's no houses and new houses.
Dorian's staying quiet because I think that would be the one business decision that I think that I would have made if I was in Wales with all this government grants would be to fucking tap into it and make sure you've got an exit because with the three of us, we don't know who the fuck we're going to sell it to.
why don't you do that?
There's a site actually we looked at 72 units last couple of weeks, and there is a potential that the council would be up for doing a forward sale, but it's so difficult to get
They're just
they've got
you-
any money.
you would have
Wales
built
get a
it,
lot
sold
funding.
it. You'd have built it, sold it, and died before the council fucking made a decision on that. That's the problem with the UK.
Is that it's very difficult, and that's why we don't do it.
I think there's interest. I'm talking to a couple guys at the moment about the assisted living stuff. I think there's an interesting play there because the rents can be like really high, and the construction costs aren't that bad, and you could do it with a terraced house, you could do it with a small block of apartments, and they're still mortgageable as well. So there's something interesting about assisted living, but yeah, forward funded stuff.
I think with all of these models, when you want to de-risk it by forward funding or forward leasing, then obviously what we did, because I set the business up specializing it really early on. It takes, the problem with all of this is that they all have timelines. We deal with councils, for example, and we deal with like housing associations, and we deal with other stakeholders that need to give you approval. But the average time it takes for us to, planning aside, really, to get into contract, because of the way the pipelines are, it's like 2 years. So in terms of these models, if anyone wants to get into what they got to realize is the first 2, 3, 4 years is all about building momentum. It's like that snowball effect. And it takes a long time first to get your foot in the door. But when your foot's finally in the door and you've got a pipeline and starting to grow and you get interest and stuff like that, then it speeds up. And that's so the things that Jack was saying earlier, and all of you yourselves about development, and I agree with them all. That's why we don't do speculative developments, but just development in general. There's so much against you. Definitely is regulation. Like the regulation is insane. The system itself is so slow and cumbersome, and the risk is all on the developer. And then when you want to de-risk it by forward selling it, the local community. When you want to de-risk by forward selling it, you're in there. They hold the shots in terms of their approval process, their times, their timing. But like other businesses, basically you just map them out and be like, that is the business landscape. What can we do about it? Only control the controllables and build a business around that. Because the biggest positive it gives you is that the barrier to entry is so high. If you manage to do it right, you can dominate a market share, or you can capture a large market share in a relatively small space of time. And but you need a cash flow. You need something cash flowing behind you, though.
Yeah, I think one of the problems for that for me is a lot of people can afford to fuck up once. So let's say a site comes available in my hometown. There's tons of people that can give it a go and fuck up, but that's taking my continuity of sites away. So because everyone wants to be in property development, real estate, you might get a local architect, a structural engineer, or a project manager, or whatever it may be. Everyone wants to be in that space. So there is a high barrier for entry for them to have a continuous growth of business and be successful, which then makes it more difficult for me to get those sites because real estate is seen obviously as a commodity.
Yeah, but you can play on your track record, Jack. I mean, you've got, if someone's going to take someone for a higher bid.
I agree, and we've definitely got an advantage now, 100%.
I was just saying with Jack, yeah, I totally feel the pain. I mean, you work through, you put fucking hours and hours of energy and hard work and get reports and rely on favors and do what you can with your team to be chipped by 100 grand someone puts 150 grand more on a bid, and then you lose everything. And you just know that they won't stack up. It's not worth the extra risk for another 100 grand. And it's easy to go, yeah, I'll do it, but you shouldn't. And that's where I think a lot of developers go wrong as well, is they bid up a little bit, pay a little bit too much for the site, and then the risk reward just isn't in the right balance.
Yeah, but you've invested years into the process now already, and as you say, you know your deal book better than we do, and your leads and stuff and opportunities. And like every business, like every part of life, constant the reward just comes through time, doesn't it? Especially in this space definitely. So it's comes through time, and it's not a get rich quick scheme at all.
I honestly think it's extremely difficult. If you look at if you spoke to like a debt lender like Avamore or someone, and you actually ask them how much profit have your developers made in the last 5 years on each schemes, I would almost guarantee that only 20% of them have covered their overheads. It's difficult. Like we've got 6 live sites. One of them is probably not even going to break even on our time allocation if we charge the time cost and how long it's taken to get where it is. 3 or 4 of them will be okay and make non-life changing money, and one of them is really good. And that pipeline has taken 10 years to build up and took probably 3 years to get in, and then will take 3 years to get out. So
I mean, just an anecdote, just speaking about banks as well. So when we went out for finance on a HMO and on a bigger site as well, on this HMO, 8-bed HMO, went out for finance, and we got 3 different terms back, and the one we liked the most was just the best rate, and we were like, okay, we've heard of them, cool, sweet. But one of the other ones, when they found out we didn't go with them, they came back and went, look, we really want your business. We've seen your website. We've seen what you're doing. We'll reduce our rate to make it more competitive. And we were like, okay, sweet. So they almost like tried to win our business. We were like, all right. And we went with that bank. We are 4.5 months into that job, and we still don't have a fucking drawdown. The monitoring surveyor is just running us through fucking hoops. And I'm like, what's the point? We've cashed the whole thing.
That's crazy.
I'm not going to name and shame just because we're entering finance on another one with them as well, because they're fine, but there's this one of the bank managers there, for some reason, he just won't agree with the monitoring surveyor. So the monitoring surveyor is agreeing with our contracts.
You need to escalate it. You need to escalate that as a complaint. That's nuts.
No, I know. It's fucking mental. So we funded 110 grand of that build and still not got a drawdown. We're about to get 60 grand down. They won't give us 110. And on another site, we're about 60 grand in arrears because they won't fund the contingency. And I'm like,
Wait, that model is you need to fix that. You need to be shouting. You need to be swinging a guitar behind you around. But guys, I got to shoot. Sorry. So I'll leave you to it. But
see you later, D. But yeah, just for anyone else listening as well who maybe isn't fully aware of the process, we're paying them their arrangement fees. We've paid the valuation. We paid their extortionate legal costs. And we're paying a crazy rate of interest. And
But they either have their order books obviously down, or I mean, they only make money when the money's out the door. So why would they want to hold back?
I honestly, I think it's incompetent bureaucracy. I think that's what's doing it. There's so many little things they want to know and do. To be fair, we've got good cash flow at the moment, so we've not been that. It's not actually been that pressureful for us. If it was, I probably would have like been screaming a bit more by now. But it's just crazy how you can get treated by these banks, and they've got all the security. They're getting a crazy rate of interest. They get their arrangement fees, and they can just string you out like that.
There's only two winners in this game: banks and the taxman.
And Bitcoin owners.
And the lawyers.
And Bitcoin. Let me touch on this, guys.
Go
'Cause
on,
we,
boy.
oh, it's gone down. It's gone down, Stu.
Mate, it's crashed. It's crashed to 120, 119,000. We started, it was on, it's gone down 100, 100.
Stuart charges this in the morning, carries it around with him all day in his back pocket.
Just to keep the confidence up.
It's crashed to 1%. Honestly, the Bitcoin thing is literally, it's an insurance policy based on the imbeciles who run the country and the global, the global fucking empire globalists, yeah, that's the word, who just control all the puppets. We're all the puppets. They're the puppeteers. And they fuck around with levers. They try and make sure no one loses jobs. They're happy at 4%, but 6%, there's going to be too many people pissed off. There's going to be too many strikes, too much civil unrest. So we have to pump more money. These crazy, shitty levers that have been working for 60 years, we've just grown up in and think it's acceptable, and it's not acceptable. And it's the only thing shining a light on these fucking idiots.
Amen, mate. Bitcoin all the way.
I think it's your fucking civil duty to, and I literally, like, you've got to find the time, no music, no fucking taking risks in the other business. Just learn the fundamentals of what artifactual money was, what metal money was, what government money was, and now what digital money is. And that's, money is this weird thing that everyone assumes is currency and paper, but the thing that we all go to work for to try and earn isn't currency paper. That's a government money. There's a much better money out there to learn about. So you have to learn about it, man. I've fucking drummed it into as many friends and family as I can.
Let's look at freeholds, because we've not talked about freeholds and leaseholds that much here, but this has been in contention for a little while, but now there's a high court challenge over freehold reforms. So freeholders, including wealthy landowners and charities, are challenging the government's freehold and leasehold system reforms, potentially impacting leaseholders and raising concerns about compensation and wealth redistribution. My dad's going through this right now, and he's got to pay the leaseholder to extend the years so he can sell it, and they can do you for quite a bit of money. So landowners and charities argue that legislation passed in 2024 contravenes their human rights, potentially delaying reforms that could benefit leaseholders. Freeholders are challenging price calculations for lease extensions, fearing financial losses and impacts on charitable giving and community investment. Leaseholders express frustration over ground rent increases and fear legal challenges could prolong reform efforts. So I'm not sure how much experience the room has here on freeholders and leaseholders and the sort of contentions between the human rights of freeholders, which I do understand because it's historic. That freeholders are the ultimate owner of that parcel of land. The leaseholder is there temporarily to stay, but it's kind of become this cultural thing where a leasehold flat is a permanent place of residence, but actually it's tethered to the freehold, and it's always been that way. And I think just society's decided now that actually leaseholds should also be permanent, but it's like, well, not really, because there's the land and there's the roof and there's this to cover, and I think some of these landowners, I'm sure there'll be some big boys in there who are just looking to lick their fingers, but there is also something about the human rights side that I kind of agree with, the property rights in general. Any thoughts on this one, guys?
In the US, there isn't such thing as a leasehold. That doesn't exist.
I think Northern Ireland's not the same either, is it?
What, in the multi-unit?
If you own a flat, you own that flat. That's it. You just own that slither of that building. You own that slither of the building. You sign an agreement that if the roof needs repairing, you'll split that equally to how much space you've got in that building. So, and it's kind of like share a freehold. It's exactly how we do share a freehold. And that's probably how it should be. But, you know, a lot of our titles, it looks like Robin Hood's drafted it up. So we've obviously got a bit more heritage to deal with. Problems
Robin
is, I think one of the biggest
The
problems
acrylic pen.
is actual education. I know someone that bought a leasehold flat that had like 86 years left on it. And when he came to sell it, it was more difficult because he didn't understand what a leasehold was and that you can't buy a leasehold for less than that amount. And if you do, then you've got to go and renegotiate with the freeholder on to extend the lease. So it's almost like the FCA or a version of the FCA. You need to educate buyers that is what a leasehold is. If you're buying a short leased building, you may have to pay more to extend your duration of ownership. I don't see that as a responsibility for the freeholder personally. I mean, all of ours are 999 or 250 years, so we're you know not really in breach of this being a concern. But I actually think that the service charge and ground rent scandal is worse than this because I feel like that it was pulling the wool over people's eyes and inflationary linking it.
Yeah, the service charges are mad. Like the service charges are nuts in some of these buildings. Like I see them in the flat we've got in Fulham, but there's ones in the east of London now that are crazy. They've knocked up so many of these, and the service charges are nuts, and people can't sell their flats because no one wants to take on the service charge. There's just congesting the market there, which is nuts. Okay, interesting. I mean, to be honest, I'm not too clued up on freeholder leaseholder relationships, but I know we do it different in the UK. But I think Northern Ireland have a different model. Scotland have a slightly different version of it. I'm not sure if Wales do. But yeah, maybe we should adopt more American ideals. They definitely do things better than us when it comes to just ease of business, ease of transactions, and understanding for the layman, rather than needing a lawyer to know if you actually own your property and what the rights and benefits are of owning that property. It's all a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're a fairly young economy. I mean, they're only 300
know,
years
yeah.
old, so
Yeah, they don't have the
it's
same
easier to
heritage.
start the clock again. Yeah.
Yeah, they're true. Okay, quick one on rents. So rents have risen 6.7% to average of £1,344 in June. That's for the UK. And a nice little shout out to the Northeast here with the highest rise in rents in the UK. But at the same time, it's kind of like that's good for us, not good for people renting, obviously. But private rents reached an average of 1,344 a month, up from 1,399. Sorry, that's not right, is it? In England, that's not up. An average of 1,344 a month, up from 1,399. Am I going fucking mental there? In England, £804 in Wales. That's not up, is it? That's down.
My calculations say that's gone down.
Yeah, I think they have. So AI makes our docket, guys. It pulls everything from local articles and big articles and stuff like that, and it's done on a weighted system, so it goes to trusted sources. And I think AI's had a bit of a paddy, or there's a typo in the article. But anyway, inflation is at 3.6%, with rent inflation highest in the northeast at 9.7% and lowest in Yorkshire and the Humber at 3.5%. The market shows signs of balancing as landlords adjust their renters' rights bill, impacting supply and demand. I would say we're seeing a stabilization of rents up here now. We went for a few years of craziness, but we are starting to see it stabilize. Like we're just seeing rents start to stick a little bit, and to drop a couple rents here and there to move rooms. It just feel like it's normalizing a bit.
The market's pretty corrected itself. We've got super strong rental demand around here. We've got 11 of the 18 gone now in sort of 5 weeks. We've got a few interest every day, effectively, but we are asking for what we think is the right market price.
That's apartments, though, right? That's different. If we put apartments or single lets up, gone. Like they're just gone.
No, rooms are going within hours as well. I mean, it's if they're the right price. But yeah, I mean, should they try and freeze prices? I mean, if they can start doing rent controls, fucking start rent controlling my coffee that I want to buy and pay £2.50 for, not £4.75. It's the same. It's the free market, right? Just
They wouldn't know because they tax the coffee and the rent in it. They might put rent controls in for limited companies because they don't get any tax benefits on it being greater.
well, let us build more then. There's two ways you can go about it: build more fucking flats, but don't rent control.
Oh, rent control be mental. I know Khan's pushing for it in London. Like, it's never worked anywhere it's gone. It's always destroyed the local economy. Like, or the local housing market.
Might go into rented.
You could be getting a white box. You'd be getting no bells and whistles for rent control.
Yeah, it'd be fucking nuts, mate. And no incentive to uphold the asset. It's be mental. Last one then. This is the last one. the last of the last, because these government-backed mortgage schemes are, yeah, I mean, they're going to distort the market a bit again, but potentially bring more liquidity back. So, government launches permanent mortgage guarantee scheme. So, the government's new mortgage guarantee scheme aims to boost availability of 91% and 95% loan to value mortgages for first-time buyers and home movers, potentially impacting affordability and stability in the UK property market. So, the scheme, also known as Freedom to Buy, isn't Freedom to Buy. Freedom to Buy is a manifesto pledged by the Labour Party and aims to help buyers with just 5% deposit. Guarantees under the previous scheme supported 44,000 loans totaling 1.2 billion, but only added 1,600 home loans in the first 3 months of last year. Coventry Building Society suggests the scheme prioritises home ownership, while Empowered Mortgages warns that lending rates may be higher under the new scheme, which is something to think about compared to when it first came around. What do you think, guys, in terms of the government stepping in here? Do you think it's going to be good on balance or bad on balance?
Just so I'm clear, does the government, is it almost like a shared ownership scheme, like a Help to Buy scheme with the government, or they're just a guarantor for the mortgage?
I think they're just sitting as the sort of lender of last resort that's backing. I think it's just a delta on the LTV. It's not the full loan. It's just that,
What if you don't pay your mortgage? They take ownership of the.
yeah, repo still, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, what I don't get is the government that have made these rules on leverage, and now the government are bringing out something to break that.
Desperate, isn't it? That's what it is. They're desperate to do something to move the housing market forward, but all this does is raise prices, create artificial liquidity where it otherwise shouldn't be, and there's going to be an asset bubble that builds again. It's just the wrong solutions, like solutions where we know we get 2008s off the back of it. It's fucking mad. It's madness. But at the same time, first time buyers can't move. Like, I know people trying to buy stuff right now, and bless them, and like it's so hard to get anything secured.
It's a bit of a shame because the last 3 I think we've done now, they've ended up a bit negative, but it's just the sentiment of the market, right? It's literally what's going on in the UK right now. We are literally just
Yeah.
feeling it from all different parts of the
Yeah,
country.
I mean, if you're an alien and you came down and you're like, right, I've got any options, where could I go?
I'm fucking off.
Yeah,
I'm off the Mars, mate.
turn back around.
Control or delete.
What will
Oh,
do
yeah.
it, boys? What will do it? What would make you go, do you know what? I'm fucking leaving. Like, what is? Because I know more people that are doing it. Like, more people just go, I'm fucking gone. See you later. Stephen Bartlett's just left as well, isn't he? And that was publicly
Has
spoken
he?
about for a while. Yeah, gone to LA of all places. It's fucking worse than LA, isn't it?
What? That is the weirdest place to go. Because I mean, crime's not better there. Taxes aren't better there. Weather, depends where you live in LA. I would argue that lifestyle's not better if you are in the thick of it. If you like sitting in traffic and paying $15 for a coffee, Stu, then LA's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
But what would it be, guys? What would be the thing that makes you go, what's the point in the UK anymore? Like, what's a business wise? I know there's family stuff, kids in school, things like that tie you down. But business wise, what would make you go, I need to move my business? Even if you don't do it, what would make you do it?
I was literally talking to the guy I went to Cork with in Ireland last week, and I just love my wife's a home bird. I love being at home, and I think that it could get really, really bad, and I'll just batten down the hatches and build my little nest egg and my little family home, and just fucking ignore what's going on. But I don't know if I could leave the UK. As much as I like the idea of fucking off to some, move your wealth somewhere, get a better life, go to fucking Asia, go to Australia, go to Dubai, get out of here, go to bloody Iceland. I think it's one of the safest places. Iceland's amazing. I love it. I love the British culture. I just couldn't fucking do it. Norway, go live in the fucking mountains.
But business, though, Stu, what would make you move your business?
But the thing is, we wouldn't live very differently if we were millionaires, I don't believe. So, or what I would say, cash rich millionaires, shall I rephrase? So, because I wouldn't be moving to Dubai to save tax, because I wouldn't really do much difference. The thing I'm looking for is more freedom to travel, which is kind of doing it anyway.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty dead set now on going to explore America, likely next year. Go explore Texas, Florida, and I just
Or to travel, or to, I mean, to go and travel, absolutely.
no, not travel. No, not to travel. As in to go to, well, not necessarily home. To just go and scout and go. If I was to do business out here, like, I'd have to go meet people who are doing it, and just network a little bit and just see what's going on out. And just to start marrying the dots and going, okay, what's the cost of setting up abroad? Like, what would be and would there be a benefit to it? And like, what would I want to do that? Just so I've got a bit of balance, because I do think the UK is on a sketchy knife edge at the moment, and it's like, even if we could still make money, which I believe we still could, we could still make really good money. I don't just want to make good money. I want to enjoy the place where I live and work and like do things. And I don't really know where that is in the UK now, but I do have a slightly weird lifestyle. Yeah, I like the idea of having a bit of diversity. Something else going on somewhere else. It's like, okay, cool, I could double down wherever. I think being a developer, the benefit is to try and get to a point where you can have fingers in different pies. You might have stuff going on in Europe or in America or wherever, because why wouldn't you?
Moves the risk reward. It moves the risk curve. You're going further up the risk curve. I think focus on one thing, do it really well, create the opportunity, the time freedom, and the financial freedom to go on 8 holidays a year, explore the world on your own terms.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you need to build a
I agree with
rock
that.
foundation, in
Yeah,
my
I agree with
opinion,
that. Yeah, definitely. Like,
stabilize it.
yeah, I think it's more me with the ambition side of scale. I'm like, do I just want to scale and focus on the UK, or like, but which obviously we're doing anyway, but or should I also be looking to try and branch out somewhere else and take a long view on it and go, okay, if I spend 3-4 years learning about another market and then dip the toe in and see if something works and then go, okay, well, at least I've started something else. Because think of the people we know who've been doing it here for 20, 30 years, 10 years, and they've gone bust or lost everything because of market dynamics, not because of themselves, the market
That's
dynamics.
trading businesses. I mean, you're only 3 years away from 10x in your net worth, and if you were to set up again somewhere else or to take a different direction, you've got to do everything you've done plus another 3 years to get to the same outcome. I just think at this moment it's just focus on what you're doing, do it better, do it more efficient, save more money, and times will get good again. Like, we're in the worst bit at the moment of the cycle, but it's the business cycle. It's cyclical. The money printing, they've squeezed the money to get the interest rates down. It's ticking up. They have no choice but to print more money. Everyone, like a drug, everyone feels happy again. They start investing in businesses. If salaries go up, the cost of coffee goes to £8 a coffee. We get used to paying £8 for a fucking shot of espresso and some ice water, and we all move on again. And house prices go from 4 million to 6 million to 8 million, and wages don't keep up. And it's the same cycle for 70 years. It's since 1971. You just have to learn to deal with the business cycle. We're right at the bottom of that cycle now, and in 6 months, we could get to breaking point over the next 6 months.
I do agree with cycles, but the economy, the UK economy, compared to America, I know we've got similar problems with America that America do, but America have the dollar and they have the biggest companies in the world. They have a huge military power. They've got a huge amount of land and resources. England doesn't have that. I think we get squashed in this game. We become a de facto American state, even if we're not governed by them. We're following their governance because of the economic power they have over us. So it's kind of like, well, do you want to be in the proxy that's sort of suffering, or do you want to go to the land of opportunity? It's like, where do you want to be?
Property laws in the world. We're an island. We're surrounded by water. We're a desirable place to live. It might not feel like that at the moment because we're having our pants pulled down by the people who should be trying to help us and lead this country. Until that's sorted out, it is going to feel a bit shit. But I still think England's a great place to live.
Even still, though, how do you fix it? Like, how do you fix the economic state we're in without having huge amount of resource, huge amount of
Huge disruption.
brain power? Yeah, exactly.
The fourth turning. Just Google.
I mean,
watch some YouTube channels. The fourth turning.
It wouldn't take a lot for Trump to come out of office and someone bullish to come in the UK office, and to let that's only 4 years away.
3 now.
Well, as in, yeah, seeing
Starmer can be out by the end of the year. I think we'd all be happy. Yeah, I still think after autumn, it's going to be very, very tight for him between now and Christmas. We're going to have this big break, and we're going to need a big fucking shake up. Reform are likely to get in, I reckon, and it's just going to be, let's see where the next 4 years path takes us. I do think the pound's going to become weaker. It's going to become twice as weak as it is today, but don't save in the pound. Get your money out of the pound. It's still good to buy property here, but who knows? We're still at the worst time of the cycle.
If this was a business podcast and we had multiple businesses on here in different fields, I do feel like the ones in property will be sitting much prettier because it's asset backed by judiciary, by the supply demand vector in the UK, which is obviously crazy, and we still have obviously very good capital markets. So we are sat in a good position, but it doesn't mean that if there's higher unemployment, taxes, and then the renters reform bill and all this other stuff, people start getting desperate and the market can start to become more volatile again.
Supply demand, and we're supporting and trying to provide housing and shelter for the lower end of the market. So it's not like we're trying to do big
Yeah, it's true,
premium
true, yeah.
£50 million properties.
Yeah,
And they must be really struggling because,
oh mate,
but then ultimately they're probably not, because you got foreign money coming in where the pound is being weakened. So actually people are converting their currency into pounds to buy property, knowing that
get more
the bottom of the cycle is they're going to get more over time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're not economists, but we've all got opinions, haven't we?
We've got opinions. We'll speculate. Sorry for a negative episode again, viewers. We'll try not to be negative, but at the end of the day, you know, we're trying to be useful, and if that means right now talking about negative things, getting stuff off our mind, is a way to shell that out, then that's what this podcast is for. So hopefully it's some.
Our
sort of
viewers will be
useful
feeling
insights.
it as well. Our viewers will be feeling it
Posi-
as well. And if they're feeling it, we're feeling it with you, man. We're all in the same boat.
On the
Let's just
same boat.
fucking get to
Give one
work.
positive thing. Let's say what's one positive thing that's happening before we close out. Come on.
Go on, Jack.
Other than Bitcoin. Look at him. Get him thing.
Yeah, baby.
Other than
Other than
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
We've had a really good summer of weather. I feel like we've had an extended summer of weather here. So even though the economy and Starmer is been a little pain in the ass, that's all right.
Take the weather. Brits can always rely on the weather. I'm off on holiday for a Monday to Friday next week, so I'm looking forward to spending some quality time with a couple of good friends and their kids, and we'll just let the kids run around. We do Sleeps 12 in Somerset, Taunton, that way. They book it. I just pay for our slice, but we just turn up. We just do Monday to Friday. We've got a pool there, tennis courts, football. Just let them play around and board games, drink. So I'm doing that all next week. I'm gonna reflect, recharge, and then come back fighting the week after. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Love it. One positive I'll give is that although the market's difficult and the economy's looking great, business may be tough, we are definitely seeing huge demand from investors, retail investors, people with money, business owners who know in this kind of market, buy property, like buy something that's a store of wealth, hedged in the UK, and we're getting crazy upticks. So if you're a developer, raising money right now, I think shouldn't be the hardest thing to do. It should be because there's not many options. You know, people don't want to buy into equities. It seems that they want to own assets. So we're seeing a great uptick in that sense, which means business is strong. So there are these kind of upsides. Hopefully for us developers who are lower on the risk scale. And I do agree with what sort of Jack was saying earlier. It's the smaller projects where I think the healthy money's to be made, because they're quick churn, quick in and out, lower risk, and that's a good place to be. But we obviously want to do the bigger sites as well. But yeah, anything else to add, boys, before we close out?
It'll all come good.
Just keep dreaming, keep buying Bitcoin.
Yeah, just think about buying Bitcoin.
Be worth. We could all be called up for frontline war back in 1940s and not get fucking our heels ripped apart by rats and our fingers lost because of frostbite and our mate blown up. So keep fighting the fight.
We're all living like every king before us has ever lived better. We're living a better life than anyone before us has lived. So, it ain't all bad.
Ain't all bad, baby.
We'll have a
There you
hot shower.
That's the sentiment we'll end out on here, guys.
Roof over our
Ain't all
head,
bad.
food in our mouth.
Exactly that.
Even if it is 20
I'm off
quid
to
for a fucking
Costa.
sandwich.
I'm off to Starbucks to go and grab a
Get a mortgage.
£7 coffee. It was £4.50 last week. It's £8 today.
Madness. All right, guys. Yeah, big love. Thank you to everyone who's watched. If you found it useful, subscribe, share the episode. See you next week.
Roundup sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deal.